I saw an alien woman handing out, looking for a partner, flyers, no conditions at all. Neon signs flashed in a rainbow of colors, advertising everything from starship parts to alien cuisine. Hovercars zipped through the air above, leaving streaks of light that reflected on the wet pavement below. It was late, but the streets were still busy. Humans, aliens, and hybrids moved together, a bustling mix of species that made the city feel alive, even in the quiet corners. Ethan had always been fascinated by aliens, not in a fanboy way, but as a researcher. He worked for a small institute studying human-alien interactions. Most of the time, it was paperwork and reports, charts and graphs. But today, something unusual caught his eye, something that made him stop in his tracks. On the corner of the street, standing under a soft, yellow street lamp, was a woman, or at least she looked like one at first. She was tall, taller than most humans, with a graceful figure that seemed almost unreal. Her skin had a subtle shimmer, like moonlight reflecting on water. Her eyes were large and almond-shaped, the color of melted silver. She wore a flowing robe that moved as if it had a life of its own, gliding over her shoulders and down to her feet. What made her truly strange, though, was what she held in her hand, a stack of flyers. They were small, neatly folded, with bold letters on the front that read, "Looking for a partner, no conditions at all." Ethan blinked. He wasn't sure if he should laugh or panic. Flyers like these weren't illegal, but they were unusual, especially coming from an alien. The alien woman smiled gently, noticing him staring. Her smile was not threatening, but warm, almost magnetic. It was the kind of smile that made him want to approach, even though his mind was screaming caution. She extended one of the flyers toward him. "Would you like one?" she asked. Her voice was soft, melodic, with a tone that seemed to carry a small echo, like it lingered in the air. Ethan hesitated, then nodded. Sure." He took the flyer. The paper was surprisingly soft, almost silky. The words were simple, almost poetic. "If you are curious, if you are willing to explore, if you wish to connect, please join me. No conditions, no expectations, just honesty and openness." There was a small line at the bottom with a set of coordinates. No name, no phone number, nothing else, just the invitation. Ethan turned the flyer over in his hands. Something about it made him feel uneasy, but also intrigued. It was unlike any message he had ever received. No sales pitch, no agenda, just an offer. He looked back at the woman who was still watching him with those calm, silver eyes. Why are you giving these out?" Ethan asked. His voice sounded nervous even to him. "Because connection is valuable," she said simply. "On my world, we believe that every being deserves the chance to meet others freely. Humans sometimes complicate things with rules." "I want to see what happens when there are none." Ethan laughed nervously. That sounds very alien." She tilted her head slightly, her expression curious. "Is that bad?" "No, I mean it's unusual, but in a good way, I think." He paused. "I'm Ethan, by the way." "I am Lyra," she replied. "I am visiting your world, learning, exploring." Ethan felt a strange pull toward her words, as if they were a puzzle his mind wanted to solve. He looked at the flyer again. The coordinates were tempting. They promised something different, something beyond the normal humdrum of his life. He had a choice: ignore it and continue home, or follow this strange alien's invitation into the unknown. The thought made his heart beat faster. Part of him screamed to be cautious, to stay safe. But another part, a part that had always been curious about the universe and the beings who lived in it, urged him to take a chance. I might check it out," he said finally, folding the flyer carefully and slipping it into his jacket pocket. Lyra nodded. "No rush. The invitation will remain. You are welcome whenever you choose." Something about her calm assurance made Ethan feel both comforted and unsettled. She didn't pressure him, didn't demand anything. She simply existed, a presence that seemed to invite him to think beyond his normal human limits. Ethan continued walking, but his mind kept returning to her and the flyer. He had walked this street hundreds of times, but tonight it felt different. The lights seemed brighter, the sounds sharper, as if the city itself was watching him. He glanced back once, hoping to catch another glimpse of Lyra. She was still there, handing out flyers with the same gentle smile. He wondered, were the coordinates a trap? Some strange alien experiment? Or something more genuine? By the time he reached his apartment, he was already thinking about the possibilities. The flyer was still in his pocket, and he could feel the smooth paper through the fabric. He sat down at his small kitchen table, poured himself a cup of tea, and stared at the flyer. The words seemed to pulse softly in his mind. No conditions, no expectations, just honesty and openness. Ethan thought about his life. Routine work, routine meals, routine interactions, everything predictable. Maybe too predictable. The idea of stepping into something completely unknown with someone or something so different was terrifying, but it was also exciting. He spent the rest of the night imagining the possibilities. What did partner mean? Friendship, collaboration, something more. With humans, there were always rules, expectations, boundaries, but Lyra's flyer promised none. The more he thought about it, the more he realized that this was not just about curiosity. It was about a challenge. Could he, a human, embrace something completely new? Could he open himself to connection without fear, without judgment? Ethan didn't sleep much that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he imagined Lyra's silver eyes, her flowing robes, the soft glow of the street lamp. He imagined walking up to her and saying yes. Yes to the unknown, yes to connection, yes to a chance to see what humans could offer when they were truly open. By morning, he had made a decision. He would go. The city was quieter than last night, but still full of life. Hovercars glided above, and humans and aliens moved together, oblivious to the small, private decision Ethan had made. He checked the flyer one last time. The coordinates were still there, simple and clear. He took a deep breath and started walking toward the location. His heart pounded, not with fear, but with anticipation. Every step felt like leaving his old life behind. Every step felt like stepping into something extraordinary. When he arrived, he found himself at a rooftop garden high above the city. Trees and flowers glowed softly under artificial lights. Small streams of water ran through the stone paths. It was peaceful and strange, almost dreamlike. And there she was, Lyra, standing as if she had been waiting all along. She smiled, and it was the same smile as last night, warm and calm. "You came," she said simply. Ethan nodded. I wanted to see." Lyra's smile widened. "Then let us begin. There is much to share and little to fear. All that is needed is curiosity and honesty." Ethan felt a shiver of excitement run through him. For the first time in his life, he felt that he was about to step into something larger than himself. Something that might change the way he saw the world, and maybe even the way humans saw themselves. As the city buzzed far below, Ethan realized that this encounter was the beginning of something extraordinary. Something that could test the limits of human potential. Something that could show that humans were capable of connection, growth, and understanding in ways even the stars had yet to witness. And with that thought, he followed Lyra deeper into the rooftop garden, unaware that this simple choice would mark the start of a journey that could change not just his life, but the lives of humans everywhere. Ethan followed Lyra along the winding stone paths of the rooftop. Gardens. The soft glow from floating lanterns lit their way, casting gentle shadows on the flowers and trees. Water trickled from small fountains, making the air smell fresh and clean. It was quiet here, far above the bustling city streets. The hum of hovercars and chatter below seemed distant, almost unreal. Lyra walked with a calm, steady grace. Ethan noticed how naturally she moved, how her eyes seemed to take in every detail, the plants, the light, the wind, and even him. She didn't speak much at first, and he didn't mind. Silence felt comfortable here. It was not heavy or awkward, it felt natural. Finally, Lyra stopped near a circular pool of water. It reflected the soft lights above like a mirror. She turned to face Ethan. "Sit," she said, gesturing to smooth stones around the edge of the pool. Ethan sat, feeling the coolness of the stone beneath him. Lyra sat opposite him, folding her legs elegantly. For a moment they just looked at each other, and Ethan felt a strange mix of nervousness and calm. "I suppose you have questions," Lyra said finally. Ethan nodded. "I do. I mean, why me? Why humans? And what do you mean by partner?" The flyer, it didn't explain much. Lyra smiled. "You humans are curious, you ask questions, that is one reason. And partnership, it is not only what you think. It is connection, trust, cooperation, friendship, learning from each other, sometimes more. But there are no rules, no conditions." "You decide what it means." Ethan frowned, trying to understand. "No conditions, that's unusual. Humans always have rules, social rules, laws, expectations. Even friendship has limits." "That is true," Lyra said softly. "On my world, we believe connection should not be limited by fear, by judgment, by expectation. We invite each other to explore, to learn, to share. Nothing more, nothing less." Ethan sat back, thinking. He had studied aliens for years, but nothing prepared him for this. Not their appearance, not their culture. This was different. It was personal, it was direct. It made him feel exposed, yet curious. "So you just hand out flyers and hope people show up?" he asked. Lyra tilted her head, amused. "Not hope, we offer. Those who accept come. Those who do not, they continue on their path. No one is forced, no one judged. That is the way of connection." Ethan was quiet for a moment. Then he asked the question he had been holding back. "And why me?" Lyra's eyes softened. "Because you looked, you noticed, you considered. You did not laugh or dismiss or run. You showed curiosity. You are human, yes, but you are also open. That is rare, that is why." Ethan felt his cheeks warm. He didn't know whether to feel proud or embarrassed. He had never thought of himself as open, just curious. But apparently it was enough. Lyra reached into a pouch at her side and pulled out a small device. It looked like a smooth crystal glowing faintly. She held it out to him. "This will help," she said. "It shows understanding, not just words. It is a tool for communication, for connection. You may find it useful." Ethan hesitated, then took the device. The moment his fingers touched it, a soft warmth spread through his hand. The glow seemed to respond to him, brightening slightly when he thought of a question. What is it?" he asked. "It translates intention and feeling," Lyra explained. "It helps you understand me, and it helps me understand you. It is not magic, but it is advanced. It is part of the gift of openness." Ethan held it carefully, turning it over. It was surprisingly light. He felt a strange sense of calm. He realized that he wanted to understand, wanted to learn, wanted to try. Lyra stood and gestured toward a small bridge that crossed the pool. "Come, there is more to show. There is a place where you can see what we mean by partnership." He followed her across the bridge. On the other side was a courtyard, wider and more open than the garden. In the center, a platform of smooth stone had several small devices, some glowing, some shaped like puzzles. Around the courtyard were benches and small tables, some occupied by humans, some by aliens, all quietly interacting. Lyra gestured to a small group. "Observe," she said. "See how connection works when there are no rules. Notice how humans and aliens share, learn, and communicate." Ethan watched. A human and an alien were sitting together, laughing as they tried to solve a small puzzle. Another group was sharing stories, their devices translating emotions and feelings in real time. The scene was harmonious. It was unlike anything Ethan had seen before. "It's beautiful," he said. Lyra nodded. "It is not beauty alone, it is understanding, cooperation, respect. Humans can do this. They have done this before, but often they forget. Here they are reminded." Ethan felt a thrill of excitement. Could humans really do this? Could they rise to the challenge of connection without rules? Could he? Lyra noticed his gaze. "You will try, yes," Ethan swallowed. I think I want to see what I can learn." "Good," she said, smiling. "Learning is the first step. Curiosity is the second. Trust is the third. You have curiosity. That is why you are here." She led him to a small table with 2 chairs. On it was a device that resembled a board game, but it had glowing symbols instead of pieces. "This is an exercise," Lyra explained. "It will teach you to work with others, not by winning or losing, but by sharing and cooperating. You will learn how your mind connects with another, even if they are very different from you." Ethan nodded, feeling a little nervous. He sat down, watching as Lyra guided him through the first steps. The symbols glowed brighter when he touched them, and he noticed that the device responded to his thoughts. Not words, not commands, thoughts. It felt strange at first, but also natural. "You see," Lyra said softly, "your mind can reach out, your intentions can connect, you just have to be open." Ethan tried again. This time he concentrated on sharing a simple idea, a memory of his childhood dog running through a park. The device glowed warmly, brighter than before. Across the table, Lyra's eyes shimmered in recognition. "You shared," she said. "I understood, that is the beginning." Ethan's heart raced. He realized he was not just learning about her species, he was learning about himself. Humans often believed they were limited, constrained by rules and fears. But here, in this quiet courtyard above the city, he felt possibilities stretching outward, limitless and bright. For hours he practiced. Sharing thoughts, solving puzzles together, understanding subtle gestures. Every time he succeeded, he felt a surge of pride, not just for himself, but for humanity. Humans could rise to challenges, adapt, grow. Maybe they were more capable than anyone had ever realized. Lyra watched him carefully, never speaking unnecessarily. When he grew tired, she guided him to a bench under a flowering tree. The air smelled sweet, and a soft wind brushed against his face. "You are learning quickly," she said. "Humans often doubt themselves, but you are capable. Your species is capable. Curiosity, empathy, and persistence, these are human strengths, even if they are often overlooked." Ethan looked at her, feeling a mix of awe and gratitude. "It's amazing. I never imagined humans could, I mean that we could, do this." "You can," Lyra said simply. "You must only try." Ethan thought about the flyer he had taken the night before. No conditions, no expectations. He realized that the words were not just a promise, they were a test, a doorway. By choosing to come here, by choosing to open himself, he had taken the first step into a larger world. "Lyra, why me?" he asked again quietly. "Because you looked, because you considered. Because you chose curiosity over fear. That is why you are here. That is why anyone is here." Ethan smiled, feeling a new sense of purpose. For the first time, he understood that connection was not about rules or expectations or conditions. It was about openness, honesty, and the willingness to learn from each other. As the sun began to set over the city, casting long shadows across the courtyard, Ethan knew this was only the beginning. The flyer had led him here, yes, but it was his choice, his curiosity, his courage that would shape what came next. And in that quiet, glowing courtyard above the city, Ethan felt the first true spark of something extraordinary, not just in himself, but in humanity. He had accepted Lyra's invitation, and he was ready to see where it would lead. The courtyard was alive with quiet energy. Ethan looked around, fascinated by the activity. Humans and aliens worked together, sharing ideas, solving puzzles, and exchanging stories. There was no hurry, no sense of competition, only curiosity and connection. Lyra led him to a small group gathered around a round table. On the table were objects Ethan had never seen before: glowing cubes, translucent spheres, and a device shaped like a small tree that hummed softly when touched. "These are exercises," Lyra explained. "They are not tests. They are ways to explore understanding and cooperation. You will participate, you will observe, you will learn." Ethan nodded. He felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. He had no idea what he was getting into, but he trusted Lyra. Somehow, he knew that she would guide him without pushing too hard. Lyra gestured to a glowing cube. "This is a communication cube. It responds to intent. Place your hand on it and think of a simple feeling: joy, curiosity, kindness. See what happens." Ethan hesitated for a moment, then placed his hand on the cube. He thought of his first day at the Institute, the excitement of discovering new things, the simple happiness he felt when a puzzle was solved. The cube glowed softly, pulsing with light that matched his rhythm of thought. "Good," Lyra said. "Now share it. Not with words, not with gestures. Share it with intent. Let others feel what you feel." Across the table, a young alien with green skin and luminous eyes placed her hands on the cube. A soft wave of light passed from Ethan's hands to hers. Suddenly, he felt a warmth in his chest, a sense of understanding, of shared joy. Ethan blinked. I felt something like happiness, but also connection." "Yes," Lyra said. "That is the point. Connection does not require words. It requires honesty of intent and willingness to share." Ethan smiled, amazed. He had always thought humans relied too much on language and logic to communicate. This was something entirely different, something deeper. For the next hour, he practiced with different exercises. He shared feelings of curiosity, wonder, even nervousness. Each time, the devices responded, translating his emotions into light and subtle sensations that others could feel. And in return, he felt their emotions too: a gentle wave of calm, a rush of excitement, a flicker of laughter. He noticed something about the humans in the courtyard. They were different here. Normally, humans worried about rules, about judgment, about failing. But here, with these exercises, they were free. Free to feel, free to share, free to connect. And Ethan realized something important. Humans could rise to this challenge. They could grow. They could adapt. Lyra watched him quietly as she guided him through each exercise. When Ethan made a mistake, thinking too hard, trying to control the flow, she gently corrected him. "Let go," she said. "Connection is not control, it is openness." Ethan nodded, taking a deep breath. He relaxed, and immediately the exercises became easier. The feelings he shared flowed naturally. The connection felt real. After the exercises with the cubes, Lyra led him to a larger table where a group of humans and aliens were collaborating on a puzzle that looked like a three-dimensional maze. The goal was simple: align the pieces to form a perfect shape. But each piece responded to touch in unexpected ways. Sometimes it moved when someone thought of it. Sometimes it rotated when others cooperated. This is problem-solving with empathy, Lyra explained. You cannot do it alone. You must understand the intentions of others. You must adapt. You must cooperate. Ethan joined the group, placing his hands on a piece of the maze. He concentrated, trying to sense what the others intended. A young alien beside him tilted her head, and he felt a gentle nudge in his mind, an encouragement guiding him. He followed the feeling, and the piece moved smoothly into place. The group laughed, celebrating their small victory. Ethan felt a rush of pride. He realized that this was not just about solving a puzzle. It was about humans and aliens working together, trusting each other, and learning from each other. For the next few hours, Ethan rotated through different exercises. He shared memories, felt emotions, and solved problems. Each activity was designed to challenge him, to teach him, to help him see the potential of human connection. And each time he succeeded, not perfectly, but enough to understand, enough to grow. At one point, Lyra led him to a quiet corner of the courtyard. A small pond reflected the glowing lights, and the air was filled with the soft hum of devices in the distance. "Do you understand?" she asked. Ethan thought for a moment. "I think so. Humans, we limit ourselves too much. We are capable of understanding, of connection, of growth. We just forget sometimes." Lyra nodded. "Yes, that is why you are here, to remember, to practice, to grow." Ethan looked at her, feeling a new sense of purpose. "And this is just the beginning, isn't it?" "Yes," she said softly. "There is much more to explore. But first, you must learn to trust yourself and others. That is the foundation of partnership." Ethan spent the rest of the day learning more exercises. Some were simple, like sharing feelings through gestures. Others were complex, like coordinating multiple devices to create patterns of light and sound that reflected shared understanding. Each activity was designed to challenge him, to stretch his mind and heart. He noticed something remarkable. Humans in the courtyard were changing. At first, many were cautious, hesitant. But as they practiced, they became more open, more confident, more willing to share. Aliens, too, watched carefully, learning from human creativity, from human determination, from human curiosity. Ethan realized that this was the HFY lesson Lyra had hinted at. Humans could rise to challenges, adapt, and excel, not through strength or technology alone, but through empathy, curiosity, and cooperation. Humans had potential that even advanced species could admire. As the sun set over the city, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Lyra led Ethan to a bench under a flowering tree. The soft petals glowed faintly in the evening light. "You have done well today," she said. "You have practiced openness, trust, and cooperation. You have learned that connection is not about rules, but about honesty and intent. Do you understand this?" Ethan nodded. "I think I do. I feel different, lighter maybe, more capable, like I can reach farther than I thought." "Good," Lyra said. "That feeling is the beginning. Remember it, humans often forget their own potential. You must not forget." Ethan looked at the courtyard, at the humans and aliens still engaged in their exercises. He felt a surge of pride. Humans could do this. They could rise to challenges, connect with others, and grow. And he realized something else. He wanted to share this, to bring it back to the world outside, to remind humans of what they were capable of. Lyra stood and extended her hand. "Rest now. Tomorrow there will be new exercises, new experiences, but tonight reflect. Remember what you have learned, feel it, let it become part of you." Ethan took her hand. The warmth of her touch was comforting, grounding. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for everything." "You thank yourself," Lyra replied. "You chose curiosity, you chose openness. That is the true effort." As he walked back to his small apartment later that night, Ethan felt a sense of wonder he had never known. He thought about the flyer, about Lyra, about the exercises. He thought about humans and what they could become if they remembered to open their hearts, to trust, to connect. He realized that this was more than an experiment. It was an invitation, not just to learn, but to grow. Not just to connect with aliens, but to connect with humanity at its best. Ethan went to bed that night with his mind full of thoughts and possibilities. He dreamed of glowing devices, shared memories, and a city alive with connection. He dreamed of humans rising to their potential, of curiosity leading them to extraordinary places. And he woke with a sense of purpose. Tomorrow, he would continue learning, continue growing, and continue discovering what humans could truly be. For the first time, he understood that being human was not just about survival or logic. It was about connection, curiosity, and the courage to explore the unknown. and he knew, deep in his heart, that he was ready for the challenges ahead. Ethan smiled to himself, feeling the first spark of something extraordinary, something that could change not just his life, but the lives of humans everywhere. And he could not wait to see where the journey would lead. The next morning, Ethan woke with a strange mix of excitement and nerves. He had learned so much the day before, yet he knew there was more ahead. Lyra had promised new exercises, new experiences. Today, he felt, would be a real test, not just of his skills, but of his understanding, his courage, and his ability to connect. When he arrived at the rooftop courtyard, the atmosphere had changed. The soft glow of lanterns and devices was still there, but something else lingered in the air: anticipation. Humans and aliens were gathered together, murmuring quietly, preparing for what seemed like an important event. Lyra stood at the center of the courtyard, her presence calm but commanding. She smiled at Ethan when she saw him. "Today," she said, "you will face a challenge not of puzzles or devices, but of trust, empathy, and cooperation. You will demonstrate that humans can rise to meet the expectations of connection without rules or fear." Ethan's heart quickened. "Expectations? I thought there were none." Lyra shook her head gently. "There are no conditions, but there is a challenge. Some observers will watch. They doubt humans, they want proof, not proof of strength or technology, but proof of understanding and adaptability." Ethan swallowed. Doubt. Observers. He looked around and noticed small groups of aliens standing at the edges of the courtyard, their luminous eyes studying the humans closely. "Don't worry," Lyra said, reading his thoughts. "You are prepared. Trust yourself. Trust others. That is all you need." The humans were paired with aliens, forming small teams. Ethan's team included a young human woman named Myra and an alien with deep blue skin and silver markings, who introduced herself as Solon. The challenge was explained. Each team would navigate a complex network of glowing platforms suspended in midair above a shallow pool of light. The platforms would respond only to synchronized cooperation and shared understanding. Any misstep would reset the system. Ethan felt a surge of apprehension. Heights had never been his strong suit. But more than that, he realized the true difficulty. The challenge was not physical, it was mental and emotional. The platforms would move only if the team acted together, shared intentions, and trusted each other completely. Lyra approached. "Remember what you have learned. Trust your partners, share your intentions, do not overthink but remain aware. Humans are capable of great understanding when they open themselves fully." Ethan nodded, taking a deep breath. "Okay, we can do this." The team stepped onto the first platform. It hummed softly beneath their feet. Ethan felt a faint vibration, almost like it was alive, responding to their presence. He concentrated, sharing calmness and attentiveness with Myra and Solon. Slowly, the platform shifted, extending a bridge to the next one. Myra smiled. "I feel it. Keep going." Solon tilted her head, her silver markings glowing faintly. Ethan sensed a gentle encouragement in his mind. He matched it with his own focus, and the next platform extended. Step by step, they moved, feeling each other's thoughts and intentions, aligning their movements in perfect harmony. It was exhilarating. Every correct step reinforced their connection. Every shared intention made the path ahead more stable. Ethan felt the thrill of human potential, how humans could rise to extraordinary challenges when they trusted themselves and each other. But the challenge was not easy. At one point, the platform beneath Myra trembled. Ethan felt her hesitation, her doubt. If they failed to move together, the system would reset. He reached out, both physically and mentally, sharing calmness and reassurance. Myra relaxed and the platform stabilized. They continued. Halfway through the course, the observers began to take notice. The aliens who had doubted humans shifted their attention, watching Ethan's team closely. Some whispered in their own language, likely questioning whether humans could succeed. Ethan felt the pressure but tried not to let it show. He reminded himself of Lyra's words: "Trust yourself, trust others, that is all you need." As they reached the final platforms, a sudden misalignment caused them to wobble. Solon's concentration faltered for a moment, and the platform began to retract. Ethan acted instinctively, sharing calmness and focus with his partners. Myra adjusted her stance, Solon refocused, and together they stabilized the platform just in time. They reached the final platform, and the system recognized their success. Lights glowed brighter than before, pulsing rhythmically as if celebrating their achievement. Ethan's heart raced with exhilaration. They had done it. Lyra approached, her smile warm and proud. Well done. You have demonstrated understanding, cooperation, and trust. You have shown that humans can rise to challenges without rules or fear. You have proven your potential. Ethan felt a surge of pride, not just for himself, but for humans. They could achieve extraordinary things, not through strength or technology, but through empathy, curiosity, and openness. The observers approached, their expressions unreadable. Ethan braced himself, unsure of their judgment. But then one of the aliens nodded slowly, a sign of approval. Another smiled faintly, and finally the group murmured in acknowledgement, recognizing the human's success. Ethan exhaled, feeling a mix of relief and joy. They had proven themselves. They had risen to the challenge. And more importantly, he had learned something profound. Humans were capable of growth, understanding, and connection beyond what many believed. Lyra placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder. You see now, do you not? Humans are capable. You are capable. Trust, empathy, and curiosity are your greatest strengths. Remember this feeling. Remember what you have learned. It is not a gift from me, but a gift from yourself. Ethan nodded, feeling a warmth in his chest. He realized that the exercises, the connection, the challenge, they were not just about learning from aliens. They were about discovering the potential that had always been within him and within humanity. After a brief rest, Lyra guided the teams to a smaller courtyard where they could reflect. Ethan sat on a bench, watching Myra and Solon discuss the challenge with quiet enthusiasm. He felt a sense of community, of shared achievement that he had rarely experienced before. Lyra spoke softly so only Ethan could hear. You have faced doubt, uncertainty, and observation. You have succeeded. But remember, this is only a beginning. There are always new challenges, always new opportunities to grow. Humans can rise again and again if they remain curious and open. Ethan smiled. I understand, and I want to keep learning, keep growing, not just for myself, but for humans too. Lyra nodded. Then you will, and you will help others see what they are capable of. That is the true lesson. As the sun set, casting golden light across the courtyard, Ethan realized that he had experienced something extraordinary. Not just connection with Lyra or with the exercises, but connection with humanity itself. He had seen the potential for growth, for understanding, for cooperation, and he knew that humans could rise to meet challenges even when they seemed impossible. Ethan felt a quiet determination. He would take this knowledge, this experience, and carry it into his life. He would remember the trust, the empathy, and the curiosity that had allowed him to succeed, and he would share it subtly with others. Humans needed to remember their own potential, to believe in themselves as he now believed in himself. Lyra approached again, her silver eyes reflecting the fading light. Rest now, Ethan. Tomorrow there will be more experiences, but tonight reflect. Let your heart and mind absorb what you have learned. You have proven much today, but the journey continues. Ethan nodded, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. Thank you, Lyra, for trusting me and for showing me what humans can do. You thank yourself, she replied. You chose curiosity, you chose openness. That is the true effort. That is what humans must remember. As Ethan walked back to his apartment later that night, the city felt different. The streets were the same, the neon lights the same, but he saw them with new eyes. Humans could rise, humans could connect, humans could grow, and he had witnessed it firsthand. He thought of the flyer that had brought him here, and he realized it was more than an invitation. It was a symbol of potential, curiosity, and openness. It was proof that even the simplest choices, the simplest acts of curiosity, could lead to extraordinary experiences. Ethan lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the challenge and what he had learned. He felt a spark inside him, a growing sense of purpose. Humans could be extraordinary. They could rise to meet challenges that seemed impossible. And he knew that he would never forget this day, this lesson, or the sense of connection he had felt. For the first time in his life, he understood that being human was not just about survival, logic, or rules. It was about trust, curiosity, empathy, and the courage to face the unknown. And he was ready. Tomorrow would bring new experiences, new challenges, and new lessons. But tonight, Ethan felt confident in one truth. Humans were capable of extraordinary growth, and he had seen it for himself. And with that thought, he drifted into sleep, dreaming of glowing platforms, shared intentions, and the limitless potential of humanity. The morning air was crisp and calm as Ethan arrived at the rooftop courtyard. The city below hummed with life, But up here in this peaceful space, time seemed to move differently. The courtyard had changed since yesterday. Humans and aliens moved together confidently, laughing, sharing stories, and experimenting with the devices and exercises. Ethan noticed a sense of harmony that he had never seen before, a quiet energy that spoke of growth, understanding, and connection. Lyra was already there, waiting near a small pool whose surface reflected the soft light of floating lanterns. She smiled warmly when she saw him. "Today," she said, "you will see the results of your learning. You will understand what humans are capable of when curiosity, trust, and openness guide them." Ethan felt a thrill of anticipation. Yesterday's challenge had tested him, pushed him to his limits, and shown him that humans could rise to extraordinary heights. But today, he knew the journey would continue. Lyra led him to a larger area in the courtyard. Several human and alien teams were gathered around platforms that combined puzzles, communication devices, and collaboration exercises. Each team was working to create something unique, a shared pattern of light, a network of sound, or a combination of both. The goal was not competition, but creation, a true test of human potential in partnership with alien allies. "You will participate in the final exercise," Lyra said. "It will require all that you have learned: empathy, understanding, cooperation, and trust. You will need to share your intentions clearly, adapt to others, and embrace uncertainty. Humans are capable, you will see." Ethan joined a team with Myra and Solon, as well as two other participants, a human engineer named Tarek and an alien with golden skin and violet eyes named Elira. The exercise was explained. Together, they were to construct a network of glowing orbs suspended in midair. Each orb responded to shared intention and synchronization. The network would only form if all participants connected fully, mentally, and emotionally. Ethan felt a wave of nervousness. This was no simple puzzle. The observers, including several high-ranking aliens, watched closely, their expressions unreadable. Yet he felt ready. He had learned to trust, to share, to cooperate. He had learned to rise to challenges. Lyra nodded encouragingly. "Remember, it is not perfection that matters. It is connection. It is intention. Humans have grown, and you will demonstrate that today." The team stepped onto the first platform. Ethan concentrated, sending calm, clear intentions toward his partners. Myra mirrored him, Tarek followed, and Solon and Elira aligned with the group's collective focus. Slowly, a faint glow began to rise from the orbs. "It's working," Myra whispered, eyes wide. Ethan felt a thrill. The glow grew stronger, brighter, forming a pattern that pulsed in harmony with their collective effort. Each member of the team added their energy, their focus, their intention. And the network began to expand, the orbs floating into intricate shapes that shimmered in the soft light. But the exercise was not without difficulty. A sudden misalignment caused one of the orbs to drift away from the formation. Ethan sensed hesitation in Solon, a momentary doubt that threatened to destabilize the network. He reached out, not physically but mentally and emotionally, sharing calmness, encouragement, and focus. Solon adjusted, and the orb returned to its position. One by one, the orbs aligned. Patterns of light spread across the courtyard, connecting multiple teams in a web of shimmering networks. Humans and aliens worked together, responding to each other's intentions, sharing energy, and celebrating small successes. Ethan felt a sense of pride and awe. This was more than a test or an exercise. This was a vision of what humans could achieve when they embraced connection, curiosity, and trust. Humans could rise not just individually, but collectively. They could create, collaborate, and understand in ways that exceeded expectations. Lyra observed quietly, her silver eyes glowing with satisfaction. "See," she said softly. "Humans can rise to challenges not because they are stronger or faster, but because they are capable of empathy, curiosity, and cooperation. These are your greatest strengths. Never forget them." Ethan glanced at the observers, who had been skeptical at first. Now many were smiling, nodding, and even communicating silently with one another, acknowledging the humans' achievements. He realized that the HFY lesson was not only for him, it was for all humanity. Humans had proven themselves capable of growth, understanding, and extraordinary cooperation. After the exercise, Lyra gathered the participants around the pool. "Today, you have seen what humans can do when fear and doubt are replaced by curiosity and openness. You have shown that partnership, trust, and empathy are not weaknesses but strengths. Humans are capable of extraordinary growth, and the universe can learn from your example. Ethan felt a warm sense of accomplishment. He looked around at the humans and aliens, seeing shared smiles, laughter, and quiet pride. This was more than success in an exercise. It was a transformation, a realization of potential that had always been inside humans, waiting to be unlocked. Lyra turned to Ethan, her gaze calm but intense. You have grown, you have learned, you have proven what humans are capable of, but growth does not end here. Take this understanding back to your world, share it, live it, inspire others. Humans have the potential to rise again and again if they remember who they truly are. Ethan nodded. I promise, I will not forget this, and I will try to share it with others. Lyra smiled. Good, that is the way forward. Remember, the flyer was only the beginning. Curiosity brought you here, and your choice to engage fully is what made the difference. Humans can rise if they choose. Ethan felt a surge of gratitude. The flyer, the courtyard, the exercises, all of it had led him to this moment. He understood now that the journey was not just about learning from Lyra or the aliens. It was about discovering the potential within himself and within all humans. As the day turned to evening, Ethan walked through the courtyard one last time, observing the participants. Humans were laughing, talking, sharing ideas, and connecting. Aliens were observing and learning from them, impressed by their creativity, curiosity, and openness. Ethan realized that humans were not just survivors or innovators. They were collaborators, capable of growth that transcended species. He thought of the flyer again, looking for a partner, no conditions at all. What had seemed mysterious and strange at first now felt like a message of hope. No conditions, no expectations, just openness and curiosity. That simple choice to engage, to explore, to connect, had led to something extraordinary. Ethan knew that the lessons he had learned here would stay with him forever. He would take them back to the city, to his colleagues, to his friends, and to humanity itself. The exercises, the challenges, and the successes had shown him that humans could rise to meet even the most difficult challenges when they embraced empathy, trust, and curiosity. Lyra approached him once more as the courtyard began to empty. Ethan, remember this, humans are capable of extraordinary things. You have seen it, you have experienced it, and now you must carry it forward. Do not forget what you have learned. Let it inspire you and others to rise to challenges that may seem impossible. Ethan smiled, feeling a deep sense of purpose. I will, Lyra, I promise I will share this and I will keep learning. Humanity can be better, stronger, and more connected, and I will help them see that. Lyra nodded. That is enough. Go now and let your journey continue. Humans are capable. You have proven it. Remember, the universe is full of opportunities and your potential is limitless. As Ethan walked back toward the city streets, he felt transformed. The bustling noise and lights no longer seemed overwhelming. He saw the world with new eyes, aware of the possibilities that existed within humans. He thought of connection, empathy, curiosity, and trust. He realized that humans could rise to extraordinary challenges, not just through technology or strength, but through understanding and cooperation. Back in his apartment, Ethan looked at the flyer one last time. The words were simple, but now he understood their meaning on a deeper level. It was not just an invitation to meet someone. It was an invitation to discover human potential, to embrace curiosity, and to connect without fear or expectation. He smiled, feeling a sense of hope and determination. The journey with Lyra had opened a door, not only to a new way of connecting with others, but to a new understanding of humanity itself. Humans were capable of greatness, and he had seen it with his own eyes. As night fell, Ethan gazed out over the city, imagining a world where humans remembered their potential, where connection and curiosity guided their actions, and where they rose to meet challenges with courage and empathy. He knew the journey was far from over, but he also knew this. Humans could rise, and he would be part of that change. And somewhere across the city, he imagined another alien handing out flyers, quietly offering humans the chance to connect, explore, and grow. Ethan smiled again, feeling the spark of something extraordinary spreading through the world. The flyer had been just the beginning. The lessons, the experiences, and the challenges had shown him the truth. Humans were capable of extraordinary growth, and the universe was waiting for them to rise. Ethan went to sleep that night with a sense of purpose he had never known before. Tomorrow would bring new opportunities, new experiences, and new connections. But tonight he rested, knowing that he had taken the first step toward a brighter, more connected future, not just for himself, but for all humanity. And in that quiet, starlit rooftop garden, humanity's potential shone brighter than ever before.